do another playthrough for the in-hand deck destruction game, Monotheism, this time using the Worshipper set, the 3 Monks. These cards, each one has a set of faces. In this case, it is, if this is next to a god with neither a solar aspect nor a lunar aspect, that god consumes the 3 cards beneath itself. And then, when they are at their rope's end, if this is next to a god with neither a solar aspect nor a lunar aspect, bless the nearest other worshipper 3 times and move that worshipper to the bottom. Then, the god next to this consumes all cards next to itself. So each of the monks, when they are feeling their worst, might sacrifice themselves for the good of the other monks. To set up the game, we will set aside those worshippers, take the stack of deities, shuffle this stack, and put our worshippers in any order we want. I assume there is some best order to put them in. I don't know what it is. On the bottom of the deck. Now we're ready to play. Each turn, we're going to go through 3 steps. We're going to unveil the top card if it's a veiled deity. We're going to give that card a chance to act. And then we will submerge cards. We will be sending cards from the top to the bottom of the deck. Anytime a worshipper is submerged, that worshipper is cursed. So with the 3 monks, we will have a very short amount of time to try to remove almost all of these deities from the deck. We're starting, and if this is next to a god with a solar aspect, this either consumes that god, or this moves down past the next 2 cards, then consumes a card next to itself. Okay, has a solar aspect. I don't need it to be where it is, because this is looking for something with neither a solar aspect nor a lunar aspect. I'm going to submerge 4 cards and send this to the bottom. I'm going to submerge 5 cards. Putting it there. That way, if for some reason this winds up on top of the deck, causes this veiled deity to consume 3 things, this strange frog entity might survive. I'm ready for another turn. Unveiling the top card. If this began unveiled, every god next to a worshipper is consumed by a god next to it. Any god that is next to a worshipper but not another god is not consumed. Okay? Submerging either 3 or 5, or not a choice, so either 3 or 5 cards. I'm going to choose 3. It doesn't have a solar aspect, so I don't need it to be near that frog entity, so I'm going to put it there. When a god attempts to consume this, instead, every god next to this is consumed by the void, and the nearest worshipper is blessed. If no gods are next to this, this is still consumed. If this is consumed, no worshipper will be blessed. Well, this might be a nuisance, or it might become the one true God. Who can say? I'm going to choose to submerge 4 cards. Off they go. If this began unveiled, this consumes any card from among the top 6. Then this moves to the bottom transformed. If it had transformed, it would say, if this began unveiled, any god from among the bottom 6 cards consumes every card next to it. Then this moves to the bottom transformed. Okay. And it might have either a solar or a lunar aspect, depending on how it's feeling and whatever cycle of changes that it's continually going through. I'm going to submerge 4 cards. I don't particularly need to change its position. Oh, there it is. If this is next to a god with a solar aspect, this consumes all veiled gods. That could be helpful because, again, with the 3 monks, I am worried about running out of time. So send that to the bottom, submerging 2 cards, putting it on the bottom of the stack, just in case this has a solar aspect, which we will find out now. It doesn't. If this is next to a veiled god, this consumes that veiled god. Then bless the nearest worshipper. Oh, well, that's perfect. It gives me a little more time. The quiet monk is now feeling quite well. If this hadn't been next to a veiled god, it would have. Otherwise, move a worshipper to be directly beneath this. Then 3 cards from among the bottom 5 are consumed by the void. But that did not happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 cards. I'm going to choose 7. I'm going to leave this 3-trunked elephant entity with plenty of veiled gods right beneath it that it might consume later. This may consume any god from among the top 4 cards. If so, this moves to the bottom transformed. Or I could simply send 5 cards to the bottom, which would curse both of these worshippers, but would also give me a chance to put this with a solar aspect directly beneath the pious monk. I think that's worth doing. So curse this. It says to flip it. Card being submerged. The one that was on top can go anywhere in the stack, and off they go. If this is next to a god with neither a solar aspect nor a lunar aspect, so it is. There it is. That god consumes the 3 cards beneath itself. 1, 2, 3 are gone. Now, the learned monk needs to go to the bottom. I can submerge either 1 card and unveil this, or 9. And I actually think I want to choose 9 to get it away from these other monks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it can live here. And then this god might attempt to consume this mouse entity. They will go to the bottom. And I can submerge either 4, 5, or 6 cards. I would love to get this 3-trunked elephant to the top again. 4, 5, 6. That won't help me do it, so I'm just going to submerge 4 cards. Leaving this where it is to potentially bless a worshipper later. When this consumes 1 or more gods, this transforms and becomes something that would say, if this began unveiled, this consumes 2 cards from among the top 4. Okay? But at the moment, the most important thing that it's doing is submerging 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Staying where it is, bringing this 3-trunked elephant to the top, which is consuming a veiled god and blessing the nearest worshipper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 cards. I'm going to choose 7. Off to the bottom they go. If no gods have a solar aspect, well, that's not true. So, otherwise, this consumes 1 card from among the top 3. Unfortunately, these are my top 3 cards, and it cannot consume itself. The quiet monk is doing quite well, so I am sorry, but this pious monk is not having their piety rewarded. Now I can choose to submerge either 5, 9, or 2 cards. Let's see, 2 would bring this to the top. 5 would see a veiled deity. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 would be not helpful. But if I had done 2, I could then do 5 or 6. 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That does seem worthwhile. So I will submerge 2 cards. When my worshipper is submerged, they are cursed. I'm going to move this directly up to there. This may consume any god from among the top 4 cards. I'm not going to have it do that. I'm only having it submerge for 6. And I'm going to put it here. If this is next to a god with neither a solar aspect nor a lunar aspect, it is. That god consumes the 3 cards beneath itself. When a god consumes multiple cards, it always starts with whatever is nearest. So in this case, 1, 2, and the third that it would consume is this. But when a god attempts to consume this, every god next to this is consumed by the void, and the nearest worshipper is blessed. When something consumes multiple things that are equidistant, it always starts with whatever is on top. So this is consumed. Off we go. And this is consumed. And the nearest worshipper is blessed. Why, thank you. And now I have to submerge it. I think I am best off submerging just 1 card. This, it is cursed. Submerging 4. I would like for this to bless one of the worshippers again. And by being right there, I think it may happen. This is veiled, so I will unveil it. If this is next to a god with a solar aspect, it is. Move any card from among the bottom 3 to the top of the deck. Then bless the nearest worshipper. Neither of these 2 can act, so I'm just going to choose this veiled deity. Bless the nearest worshipper. All right. Unveil this. If this is next to a god without a solar aspect, this consumes that god. Well, in this case, these tarantulas, or this frog, I'm not quite certain which is the entity that is potentially being worshipped here, but neither is going to have a meal. But I will be able to submerge 3 cards. I'm going to leave this where it is. I have enjoyed having this 3-trunked elephant nearby. If this is next to a veiled god, so it is. Bless the nearest worshipper? Well, the nearest worshipper cannot be blessed. That's too bad, but I guess it means things are going well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards being sent to the bottom, which curses the worshipper. Here, if no gods have a solar aspect, 3, 4, 5, well, many do. Otherwise, this consumes 1 card from among the top 3. I'll have it consume that veiled deity. I can submerge either 5, 9, or 5 cards. I'm going to choose 5, I think. So, 5 cards being sent to the bottom. And place this here. If this began unveiled, every god next to a worshipper is consumed by a god next to it. Any god that is next to a worshipper, this is, but not another god. It is not, so it is not consumed. But this is consumed. Oh, you didn't even look that hungry. You have those giant marshmallows to sate your appetite. But no matter, that has been consumed. This veiled deity is consumed by this veiled deity. Off they go. And this poor frog entity is consumed by this strange cherubim-looking creature. Now I can submerge either 3, 5, or 1 card. I am going to choose 1. This cannot act because it is next to something that does have a lunar aspect. I can choose either 9, 1, or 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards to the bottom, placing it there. And it is cursed. Unveiling this, you may bless the nearest worshipper. If so, this moves to the bottom transformed. I'll do it. The worshipper is blessed. This goes to the bottom transformed and becomes something that says, if this began unveiled, this consumes the nearest card repeatedly till this has consumed 2 gods with a lunar aspect. Unveiling another. If this is next to a worshipper, oh, what luck! Move that worshipper to the bottom. Then this consumes the 4 cards nearest to itself. 1, 2, 3, 4. Goodbye, friends. I am sorry that you were not the chosen ones. Now I can submerge either 6, 3, or 5 cards. I will choose 3. Placing this here. If this is next to a god with neither a solar or a lunar aspect, that is the case, that god consumes the 3 cards beneath itself. 1, 2, 3. When this consumes 1 or more gods, this transforms. I need to submerge. I will choose to submerge 1 card. This worshipper is cursed. If this began unveiled, this consumes 2 cards from among the top 4. Here are the 4. It cannot choose itself. I believe I will have it consume these 2 veiled deities. Then submerge either 1, 2, or 7. Can I even choose 7? Yes, just barely. But I will choose to submerge 1 card. If this is next to a veiled god, it is not. Otherwise, move a worshipper to be directly beneath this. Then 3 cards from among the bottom 5 are consumed by the void. These 3. Off they go. I can submerge either 8, 7, or 2 cards. If I choose either 8 or 7, I will lose because everything will be consumed by the void. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 2 cards, which curses my worshipper. If this began unveiled, this consumes the nearest card repeatedly till this has consumed 2 gods with a lunar aspect. Consumes the nearest card, and that is 1 with a lunar aspect. Consumes the nearest card, but when a god attempts to consume this, instead every god next to this is consumed by the void, which means you and you. And the nearest worshipper is blessed. The 3 monks, who are now the single monk, have also chosen to worship this strange mouse entity. I hope you've had fun.